Good evening, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of A Word with Pastor Webb. I'm your host, Pastor Webb, and we have a very, very special guest tonight, Miss Kim Pearsall, a mental health counselor. Please help me to salute and celebrate my friend and sister, Kim Pearsall. How you doing?
I'm good.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
How was your drive?
It was great.
It was great? Well,
Yep.
we're not going to prolong the time.
Okay.
What's your story?
So my story started in Richmond, Virginia. Grew up middle class to two parents, Ron and Charlene Crocker. Was raised as an only child. And I had a very good childhood. It was standard. We didn't have a lot of money, but I never wanted for anything. And was raised in the church. I was on the usher board. So, I think I owe everything to them because they provided the foundation that I use today. Stands for who I am.
Okay. You graduated from HBCU. How you feel about that?
I graduated from Howard University. Let's make that clear.
Excuse me,
Yes.
HBCU.
Yes.
Oh.
The HBCU.
The HBCU, but not Bethune, but Howard. A historical black college university. How you feel? How do it make you feel?
You know what? I am so proud to be a Howard alum, and I know I'm in good company because Kamala Harris is also a Howard alum. The second black woman to be elected to the U.S. Senate, one of only a handful of black women to run for office of president. So, one of the things that I appreciate about Kamala is that she talks about how Howard represents what the possible is. She gave an interview and she talked about how she didn't ever wonder if she could do something if it hadn't been done before, because Howard represents what is possible.
Right. So,
and that's exactly what I feel.
Right. So what's your experience at Howard? Did you have a great time? Did you party harder?
Partied, but also, I worked hard, studied hard, but enjoyed the cultural experience because Howard represents culture.
Right, okay.
There's something about knowing that you might see Toni Morrison on campus or Debbie Allen, and that's nothing unusual. So absolutely, I did party, but I also worked hard, and
Wow.
Again, very proud to be an alum.
So what would you say for a student who wanted to go to college and had to choose between a traditional school versus an HBCU? What is the benefits?
Well, I would say, for one, the benefit of going to an HBCU is you're validated. You see yourself represented in all parts of the college. I think another part of it is, we have a natural longing to feel connected, to be a part of a community. So you're going to get that at an HBCU. I'm not saying that you can't get that at a school that's not an HBCU, but it's different.
Perfect.
And so I would encourage people to consider going to an HBCU.
All right. Give me 3 words that best describe Kim Pearsall.
3 words that best describe Kim Pearsall. I would say that I'm loyal, laid back, and patient.
Patient.
Yeah.
Patient. Next question,
Mm-hmm.
which is why you're here. What is mental health?
Mental health is the emotional, psychological, and social well-being of a person.
Okay.
So it really does, it represents all of the components of who we are in terms of our mental health. And just as important as our physical health is our mental health.
Right.
You know, if we have a physical condition, we're showing symptoms, what do? We go to the doctor. So I think we need to learn to do the same thing when it comes to our mental health. If we're noticing things that have changed, we're noticing that we're not the same, we're not thinking the same way, we definitely need to address our mental health.
Okay. Why did you choose this profession?
I've always been the person that folks came to talk to. And I think because I am a good listener, I think I make myself available to people. But also I think people need to feel like they aren't going to be judged. And so I'm someone who can place my personal feelings to the side and listen to what the person has to say. That's what a lot of people need. When we talk about counseling, really what most of it is listening. Not so much talking, but listening with undivided attention. And so I've always been that kind of person.
Okay. So is mental health on the rise?
Well, mental illness
illness.
is on the rise.
The illness is on, okay.
Yes. And so we are, particularly during our current times with COVID-19, we are seeing people who are experiencing depression, isolation, anxiety, and so suicidal thoughts. So those are mental health issues that certainly are trending.
Okay. So what would you tell a person who say, I don't need a mental health counselor. I got Jesus.
Yeah, I would say good for you. You know, it's important to have Jesus. Mental health is something that should be addressed again, just like any other health condition. It's a tool to see a counselor. It's just another tool. So I was actually looking at a program last night, and there was a couple, a pastor and co-pastor, talking about this. We go to church, we pray, we rely on the support of our church community, but we can also have other tools. We can see a therapist. We can go to the doctor. And so if people would think of it as another tool that they can use, I think that they would be, less likely to shy away from it or consider it something that isn't of God.
Okay. Next question. What is mental health? Why is mental health important in the Black community?
I think particularly because Black people experience trauma differently from any other racial group. You think about what's happening now with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Their deaths represent something for us that's different from anybody else. If you're not Black, you can't understand. And so we internalize those things. You're going to be different when you see a man killed on camera in front of your eyes. And so because typically in the Black community, we don't talk about these things.
Taboo.
Yes, it's taboo to say that you are depressed or that something has happened and it's had an impact on you. I think we have to change that. Leaders like yourself, the mental health community, we have to come together and we have to make it okay for folks to talk about their feelings.
But why do, in the Black community, we call it taboo? Because I can remember growing up and the older folks used to say, don't talk to him, he getting a crazy chair.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like, whoa.
Right. Well, because we've lived with these narratives that, you're crazy if you have a mental illness.
Right.
No, you have an illness. And if it's not treated, you're going to have symptoms. Again, same way with diabetes. If you go untreated for your diabetes, you're going to have symptoms. So we need to start the conversation differently with our children early. And we need to let them know if you see someone talking to themselves, to explain that to your children. This is someone who has a mental illness.
Right.
And what we need to do is come together and provide the support that they need.
Right. So I need to stop talking to myself.
Yes.
All right. What are some of the strategies for coping with anxiety and depression?
So they're mental illnesses that typically are experienced together, but some of the coping strategies might be different. So I'll start with depression. With depression, you know, typically you might see someone who is sad, without a lot of energy. They experience negative self-thoughts. So you would want to encourage them to look at the glass half full.
Okay.
Think about what they can be grateful for. You would want to encourage them to get out, get some exercise. We know that exercise releases endorphins that make us feel better. So I think with depression, you definitely want to start with a change in attitude and beliefs. With anxiety, you really should consider ways to what we call ground you. So if you're anxious, maybe you have a stress ball that you grab onto.
Okay.
Maybe you take some deep breaths. And we know that, you know, deep breaths get oxygen flowing through our bodies, helps to relax us. Again, exercise is good for treating anxiety as well.
Okay. Explain to me Baker Act. When somebody Baker Act acts someone.
Yeah, so a Baker Act is a law enforcement involuntary hospitalization. So when someone is considered to be a danger to themselves
Right.
or others, they would be a candidate for a Baker Act. And so typically someone from law enforcement would come and escort that person to the hospital, closest hospital, so that they can get the mental health treatment that they need.
Okay. Do you find that depression in young black males is higher than depression in young black females? Or about the same?
You know, that's interesting. I think that we would probably see more black women report depression than we would black men, because again, it's taboo. Black men often don't go to see a medical doctor,
right,
so you know they are less likely to see a therapist. But that's a good question. I would have to look it up. But I do, just in my anecdotal experience, black women would report more likely than black men on symptoms of depression.
Right. What about black versus white?
White people are more likely to seek mental health treatment than black people. Yeah.
Stigma, right?
Exactly.
Right. What has been the biggest challenge you have to face as a mental health counselor?
I think, again, destigmatizing mental health, encouraging black people to seek treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I think also encouraging black couples to seek treatment. You know, we understand that there should be some premarital counseling. We understand that there should be some thought about why you want to get married, you know, some pre-thought about that. We don't always understand that it's important to work on your marriage and maybe seek counseling while you are married to strengthen and maintain that marriage. So that's been one of, you know, I think the biggest struggles, and something that I've taken a particular interest in, is encouraging young black people to come together as a family and get the help they need. Yeah.
Okay. So in your counseling sections, have anyone ever act out, you know, say something, try to cut their wrist or try to attack you?
Well, fortunately, nobody's tried to attack me. Certainly, I've had people say that they've cut their wrists, that they've attempted suicide, that they are hearing voices. And so, again, my approach is to not make it something sensational. Oh, what's wrong with you? My approach is to look at how I can help you. So let's get the help you need. Let's make the calls we need to make. Let's get you into treatment so that you can feel better and be better.
Have you ever been blamed for counseling somebody wrong?
Not that I know of. As a matter of fact, I feel, you know, very fortunate that I've had clients that I've been seeing for years.
Okay.
2-3 years now. So.
Have you ever been sued?
I have not been sued.
That's good.
Yes.
That's great.
So,
great.
Yeah,
Now, what are some of the warning signs for depression and anxiety?
So warning signs for depression would be a long-standing experience of sadness, negative self-thoughts, so nothing's ever good enough, suicidal thoughts, feeling lethargic. So those are common symptoms of depression. Sleeping a lot and still feeling tired could be a symptom of depression.
Wow.
Common symptoms of anxiety, might be heaviness in your chest, feeling like a shortness of breath,
Right.
worrying about things, feeling a tightness in your stomach, just all of the things that we might typically experience for a reason.
Right.
But people who experience anxiety disorder will feel anxious and they don't have a reason.
Right.
They just feel the anxiety.
Right.
Yeah.
So me being a pastor, if I get a phone call from one of my members saying, Pastor, I'm having suicide thoughts, what should I do?
You should give them the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255.
One more time?
1-800-273-8255.
Okay. Next question. What can the person do to help themselves as it will come to mental health illness? Personally, help themselves.
Get exercise.
Mm.
I think that's critical. Talk about how they're feeling.
Talk to a counselor, though.
Talk to a counselor.
Okay.
And if they're not ready to talk to a counselor, talk to someone you trust. Talk to someone who would support you going to see a counselor.
Okay.
Get involved with the community. Be a part of what your church is doing. Volunteer your time. You know, making yourself useful can also be a way to treat symptoms of depression and anxiety.
All right. So do you have a private practice?
As a matter of fact, I am. I work with Dr. Jeanine Robinson-Kyles at Robinson-Kyles Counseling and Testing Services.
Right.
The number is 863-398-6748. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, they can call that number and make an appointment, and I'm happy to assist.
All right. So if I have any members who would like to reach out, we can outsource through you.
Absolutely.
God bless you. Appreciate that. If you could trade places with one person, who would that be?
I thought about that. I don't know that I would trade places with anybody.
Okay.
I think, I like the way things are for me. I feel good about, I'm blessed. I feel good about where I am in life. So.
And you like doing mental health counseling?
I love what I do.
With the mind. So you like playing with the mind?
No, well, I like exploring the mind.
Exploring the mind.
Yes, yes.
Right. But let's get personal. Tell me about your husband. So when he approached you, did you examine him? You said, "Let me see if this brother crazy." How did you? How did you know? 'Cause I know you evaluate people. We see people walking. You say he's, she's. Do you find yourself evaluating people once you see people acting a certain way?
Well, I do. I always evaluate people. I think when I met my husband, I didn't pay him much attention until he made himself obviously known to me. You know, he came.
And at that point, you started evaluating.
Yeah, and then at that point, and so, first impressions was just a real nice guy.
Right.
Just, and he didn't pull any punches. He didn't have any, corny
lines.
Right. Pickup lines. And so, he just reminded me of somebody that I'd known before.
Right, and you have 2 kids, so do you find yourself evaluating your kids? Why that she does this, he does this?
Yes, now I try not to.
Okay.
I try to just, go with the flow and
Right.
be natural with my family. But sometimes I do analyze what they're doing, try to analyze their behavior.
Okay. If you had one wish, what would that be?
To leave a legacy for my children that they can be proud of, to make sure that they know that they were loved, that they can do anything, that they have the tools already inside of them to be successful, and that they go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in closing, do you have any closing remarks for our listening audience?
I just want to say that I really appreciate you, Pastor Webb, for inviting me on to the show. It's a pleasure to be in the company of someone who is dedicated to the community and is doing so many wonderful things. So I look up to you and I appreciate all you're doing.
All right. And the very last question, what is the best talk show in the land?
A Word with Pastor Webb.
God bless you, my sister. And to my listening audience, until we see you next time, may God bless you real good.